Yo, this is McGarren Flack, going to demonstrate how to draw some good flat values. Here I have a perspective drawing scene set up. Here, I'm setting up a light source up in the top left-hand corner. It's angled down towards the buildings. So all the planes that are on the right side of the building are going to be darker in value than the planes that are on the left side of the building, because the left side is going to be getting light. So here you notice that I'm holding the very end of the pencil as I'm drawing in my values. If I get into more detailed areas, I'll hold it closer to the tip of the pencil so that I have more control. But I want to keep very light values and draw them in by cross-hatching, by changing my angle just slightly to get a nice flat value. So you can see here on the under part of this building, I'm creating some values that are a little bit darker, but because I'm starting on the left side of the perspective drawing, I want this building on the left side to be a little bit lighter in value than the center building, because the center building is closer to the viewer, so it will have more contrast in my values. So here I'm going to push it just a little bit darker on this building in the front and place some values in the windows. If I leave white in those windows, then it will look like there's a light on inside the building. And if there's a light inside the building, then I need to put detail inside the building because people want to see what's in the lights. So I'm going to create darker values that are on the under part of the building. So like the overhang or window seals that go back into space, doorways like the top of a doorway, something along those lines. Here, this nice little pipe that I'm drawing in for the values, I'm gonna draw those shadow shapes that are underneath the pipes, just a little bit darker. And on this plane that has the steps going down underneath the building, it's going to be a little bit darker in value. Notice also I am making the values flat, and I'm changing the value within each flat shape. So with the stairs, it gets darker in value as it goes down the stairs because there's less light that's going to be affecting each stair. Now I'm doing the right side of the building. I used a pretty hard pencil on the left side of the building. The left side I used a 2B pencil. On the right side I'm using a 4B pencil, which means it's a little bit softer of a charcoal so I can get darker values placed onto my drawing. And because the right side of the building has less light on it than the left side, because remember I set up my light source on that left side, it's going to be darker in value, and I need to make sure that the shapes are flat. I know it sounds kind of redundant. Yes, I know, McGarren, you should make all the shapes flat, but this is a good practice on making good flat shapes so that you can simplify the value structures of those shapes. If you go in and render out all the little forms and the turning of forms without getting a good value in relationship to other values, things will start to look like they're getting all curvy and weird and funkadelic, which, I mean, if that's what you're going for, then that's what you're going for. But here I have in real time, just to kind of show you how I work on these drawings. So here, holding at the very end of the pencil, just kind of wagging it back and forth and softly building up those values. Go back and forth, going up towards the top and down towards the bottom. You'll see that some of the values are getting a little bit darker than others, and if that is the case, you can just go in and fill in those lighter values so that it looks like a nice flat shape. This is just a practice. We're just practicing how to fill in a good flat value. If it looks scratchy, fill in those little areas so it looks less scratchy. Change your cross-hatching angle. All right, so back to drawing all of these nice little flat values on the shadow side of the building. When you are wagging that pencil back and forth, make sure that you are starting and stopping at every edge of the shape. If you start or stop in the middle of a shape, then you start to get these really weird overlapping lines, and it will make it look like the shape is different than what you have drawn in. Here I just drew in the shadow shapes that are being cast from the building onto the sidewalk. Notice the cuts in the sidewalk are getting smaller as they're going back towards the horizon line. And that's on purpose because this is a perspective drawing and you need to express the change in those shapes. Now that we're dealing with value in this perspective drawing, you should already have those in correctly. And now you're just making the values darker in the front and lighter as it goes towards the back, but also keeping them flat within each shape. So you can see here on this building here that I'm starting to draw in, I'm drawing the left side, which means that I've shifted back to the 2B pencil and making in good flat values. Now that I shifted over to the right, I'm filling it in with a 4B pencil. You can see that I made it really kind of scratchy and I went over it quickly because I know some of you students are just going to be doing that. You're going to be throwing in these really nice scratchy surfaces. I want to show you that you can fix them. Just because it's scratchy doesn't mean it can't be fixed. And you fix it by adding thinner, lighter values that are flat on top of the other values. Go in, redefine some of those shapes if they get lost with your pencil so that you can see the difference between the doorways and the building. And here I'm off to the very last part of the building, or the building to the far right. I'm going to make it lighter in value so it doesn't compete with my center of focus, and redefine some of those perspective lines that I have in all of the various shapes. Right now it feels pretty good. I have my dark values on the right side of every building and my lighter values on the left side of every building, so it does create a sense of light. And sorry about the color changes. Man, when you speed this stuff up, it really changes the color. I'm using a window light, which I guess I should use a different light to make it so it looks more consistent. So that's basically it. Go in, redraw some of those shapes and perspectives. This little stick off to the right that you keep seeing coming up, that's called a Maul stick. That's what I use when I don't want to put my hand on the drawing. I can rest my hand on the Maul stick. You could use any stick you want. Rest your hand on it so that when you're drawing or painting, you don't smudge or touch any of the stuff that's on there. So here again, in real time, just flattening out some of those values, making it a little bit darker here in the foreground so it comes out, and that's basically it. So all you have to do, a few key things to remember. Hold the end of the pencil, not towards the head, but towards the back side of the pencil. Go back and forth, very light drawing, come back in, change your angle, very light drawing, and just fill in the shapes from one edge to another edge. Pretty simple stuff. Go back in, refine the shapes, and you're basically done with your drawing. All right, I hope this really helped to show you how to draw this stuff, and pretty quick video. Leave your comments below if you have any. If you don't, then that's totally fine. And happy drawing.